Hey, it's Brooklyn Lou the Skeptic, former evangelical, now turned atheist. And I was away for a little while, about 10 days. So I wasn't on. I didn't get to communicate much with people online. But I was following the news. And the first day that I took off and I was driving over to the Bible Belt in Texas, and a couple of things happened on July 4th, the 4th of July, the American holiday. So the first thing was I seen that the current regime in America was celebrating the passing of the big, beautiful bill, as they like to call it. And I don't think it's a big, beautiful bill. I kind of think it's a big, awful bill. But they were celebrating, and I don't know what there was to celebrate unless you're extremely rich, which I don't think most of us are. But this bill gave tax cuts to the richest of the rich in America. And at the same time that it does that, it's going to cut millions of people off of their Medicaid. Yeah, Medicaid. Now, Medicaid is for the most unfortunate Americans, American citizens. So don't get that wrong. All right. American citizens that are poverty stricken for the most part and ill and disabled are going to have their benefits cut when this big, atrocious bill becomes in effect. So why are we celebrating? I don't know. And Medicaid is not a program that gives money to lazy people. Okay. The idea that that's what Medicaid is just insane. Medicaid is not easy to get. It's very difficult. And it's for the least of us, the unfortunate ones, the sick and the disabled. And we're going to watch and see people get thrown off the medical coverage that they have. Just horrible. Now, mind you, we live in the only fully industrialized country in the world that doesn't have guaranteed health care for its citizens. All other big industrial countries provide health care for their citizens, except the United States. Just think about that. But the richest of the rich, well, they need more tax cuts. Because essentially, that was some of the big things in this bill. Giving tax cuts to the richest of the rich and cutting Medicaid for the poor, for the downtrodden, for the sick and disabled people. Wow, that was a hard one on the 4th of July. And on the same day, while this regime in America was celebrating the passing of this bill, we also had a catastrophic flood, a natural disaster in Texas, which was exactly where I was heading, to Texas. And this flood was a flash flood, and it was tragic. There were well over 100 people that were killed during this flood. Just horrifying. Terrible, terrible, terrible. And while that flood was happening, there were Christians praying. Now, how do I know that? Well, I know this because I was a evangelical Christian at one time. And there was a camp, we've all heard about it, and it's horrifying what happened there. A Christian camp for children and young people, young girls. And when you send your child off to camp and you're an evangelical Christian, you sit down and you pray for their safety. That's just common. I know it. I did the same sort of thing. You pray to God that he would protect your children when they're away. And the children themselves have been taught to pray for their safety. And of course, we know that natural disasters don't pick and choose whether you're a particular religion or no religion at all. No, they just happen. So we happen to have a natural disaster in this flash flood that also took the lives of 27 girls, young Christian girls. Just horrible. Now, doesn't this show that when you pray for the protection of particular people, that the God, if he was real, does whatever he wants anyway? That's just a sad reality that Christian folks need to accept. I believe you have to accept that the God's will is going to be done. Why you pray? I don't know. I guess it makes you feel good, right? Okay, feel good. But in this case, if you believe in the God decided that he would have a natural flood occur that would take away and destroy some of his own followers. Yes, his own followers. Followers that were praying that he might protect them. Hello. He didn't protect them. So sad, so sad. Now, I also started thinking about this whole immigration mess in America. Just how horrible it is. And I was watching, when I had time to go online, I was watching videos and footage of an invasion of a cannabis farm. Oh my goodness. Okay. Farm workers. People who work very hard just to earn a meager living. Okay. Cannabis. One of my favorite things. I love cannabis. So this was particularly horrible to see. I watched videos of this regime that is now controlling America, tear gassing farmers, invading a farm just to take away illegal, undocumented immigrants. One person died on that farm because of that raid. So we lost a life, a human life was lost because of the invasion of a farm, legal cannabis farm. Not illegal, legal cannabis farm. Okay? And I watched people running through fields, running from agents, armed agents, coming to try to take them away. How horrible. Now, of the immigrant population that are illegal, meaning they are completely undocumented and not legally here in America, there are around 14 million or so of these types of people. Most of them are not criminals in any other way, shape, or form. Most of them are hardworking. And most of them are Christian. About 85% of undocumented immigrants in America are Christian. Okay? So here we have a regime in America that is targeting a majority Christian population. And they're invading farms. And they're pulling relatives of decent people off the streets. And they're putting them in cages in places like Alcatraz. I thought that evangelical Christians supported Donald, you know his last name. I don't even want to say it. And the reason I don't want to say it, folks, is I pretty much have heard enough to understand that the algorithm doesn't like you mentioning a certain name. Okay? Because just a mere mention of a name is too much for the algorithm. So I'm being careful, but there's a certain person who's in charge of this regime here in America. And I thought that Christians believed that he was good for the Christian people, that he represented the Christian people. And they turned out big time to vote for this man. And isn't it really ironic that we are seeing invasions of people who are Christian? 85% are Christian people. And aren't they being persecuted? Isn't that happening here in this country under this authoritarian regime? Isn't that happening? Yeah, I think it's undeniable. Okay? I don't get it. How can decent Christian people sit back and watch this type of horrible treatment of other human beings? Now, understand, most of these human beings are not criminals in any other way than they came to America seeking a better life. Most of them do not commit other crimes. And aren't Christians supposed to be for forgiveness? I mean, I know when I was an evangelical Christian, I was pretty strong on forgiveness, particularly if somebody commits a crime or a sin that doesn't harm anybody else. I thought we were supposed to forgive. Where is all the Christian outrage for what is going on when a majority Christian population is under attack and being captured? Many times just swept away to an internment camp without due process. And we've seen some video of Alligator Alcatraz. And while the right-wing religious zealots in our country are selling merchandise as though they should be able to profit off the suffering of other people, how weird, how strange that is, to suffer and see people making merchandise to celebrate the suffering of other people. It's been reported that these little cages, and we've seen the cages, there are video that has been around of these cages, and we've heard reports of 30 grown adults staying in like an 11 by 11 cage where they could hardly move. These are human beings. We need to put them through such horrible conditions. We need to spend millions and millions and millions of dollars to round them up and put them in a cage, an 11 by 11 cage, and that is where they're being put, and have 30 grown men in a small little cage. How disgusting is all this? What kind of a country have we become? I thought this country was about freedom, was about due process, was about everyone getting their fair day in court, was about treating other human beings as we ourselves would like to be treated. This was a rough 4th of July period for me, just thinking about what I'm seeing in my own country. It was rough. Now, when you have a regime, a nasty authoritarian regime that is into laughing about seeing people suffer in little camps in cages because they dared to come to America, they dared to try to make their lives better, they dared to work on a farm, but they did something illegal. But let's celebrate that. Let's harshly look at that and applaud and say, oh, look at those people, how we're treating them so awful. Come on, folks. Come on. We got to be better than this. This is not what we want in America, unless you're a cruel person. Christian, non-Christian, whatever. What kind of a human being would want to see people put in cages that dared to come to this country for a better life? Come on. Be human. Be human. Now, when you do this sort of thing as a culture, as a tribe, which is what happens, people form little tribes of, well, my tribe is better than your tribe. So we're seeing in America this cruel treatment of Spanish people. Now, I know that it's more than just Spanish people, but when you look at the population of these undocumented, bad, illegal people that are roaming the streets, that are doing our gardening, that are helping us with our roof, that are working hard, those people, the biggest population of those people are Spanish. And the biggest group of them all is Mexican. So, of course, these Mexican people have family that are still in Mexico. So, of course, the people in Mexico are hearing about the cruel treatment of their relatives here in America. Now, being a tribal species, what are we seeing now? We're seeing people, local people in Mexico, revolting and screaming to throw out Americans who are visiting Mexico. And a whole lot of American people like to visit Mexico. So we see in videos and reports of local Mexican people screaming, yelling, and even physically attacking American people. Now, I don't support that, but what do you expect? What would be expected of people who are hearing about their family being treated so harshly here in America when the American people go over there, hi, MAGA? Okay. I mean, come on, folks. Obviously, there's a backlash against Americans now. Just horrible. Does this regime care that America is going to be hated all over the world? Does it even give a darn? I don't think so. But we got to stay strong, folks. We do. We got to stay consistent and somehow unite. We have to stay and we have to argue for facts, for a fact-based world. And we have to try to speak out when we can about the awful things that are going on under this regime. So stay strong. We still have hope to change these things in our country. Think rational, and until next time, be happy.